What's up, everybody? I'm Chris. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel again. So today I've got a set of pedals. These are Civic Type RX pedals. For those of you who don't know, they just have an aluminum face with the clutch and brake have the raised rubber pieces, and the gas doesn't. It's kind of just a flat black piece here. So what I'm gonna do today is separate these arms from the bracket, so I can take this rusty nasty bracket and take it and sandblast it, because I don't want any of this rusty crap inside my car. So I'm gonna take these apart. I'll walk you guys through it on how I do it, show you what tools, and I'm also, when it comes time to reinstall, I'm gonna use this Carcep's throttle pedal return spring. So that spring replaces this one here, so the throttle pedal or the gas pedal will return harder. So I'm going to get started on taking these apart. Hopefully I can get them sandblasted today and painted, and then maybe tomorrow I'll put them back together, and then maybe I'll post a video up sooner than later. So I'm going to get started, guys. I know my arm's all twisty and stuff, but I'm going to do this. Alright, so I'm going to put the gas and brake pedal assembly aside, and I will start with the clutch pedal assembly first. So there is a 14mm nut here and a 14mm bolt on this side. There is also a big spring in here that I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to release the tension once this is removed. Maybe I'll have to squeeze first, but let's see. What I'm going to try to do first is take this bolt out. Actually, since we are working with springs that can fling out at any moment, I'm going to put some safety glasses on. Make sure I keep my eyes safe, because I've only got two, and I'm hoping to live a lot longer life so I can enjoy my eyes. So I've got the nut off. Gonna slowly tap this out. Where's the least amount of pressure on that spring? Probably there. That comes out. Probably gonna have to remove this as well. Hopefully this is a 14. It is not. I'm gonna need something bigger. I'm gonna remove this one here. Just break that loose. Take this whole switch out. I try to keep the nut as close to where it was as possible, so that way when I reinstall the switch, I know exactly where it was, or as close as possible to where it was. So I've got the bolt, the nut, switch number 1, and switch number 2 is actually already loose. I'm going to back both of these out, put them aside so I know what goes where again. And now to try and get this out. There it goes. That's that. So this is the clutch pedal bracket. It is fairly simple. I'm probably going to leave this spring in there when I sandblast it. Maybe I'll remove it. Let's see how difficult it is to get it out. Oh, well, that wasn't very hard at all, was it? Got the spring out, just pried off the edges. I should probably clean that up. I'll probably re-grease it when I put it back in. But yeah, so I just pried the edges here. The spring popped out of its little holder, and that's it. So now the clutch pedal bracket is completely by itself, so I can go sandblast this later today and paint it, make it nice and new looking. Next one is the gas and brake. So I'm going to take this switch out again, like I said before. I'll keep them aside so I can put them back in for later. That's the brake pedal switch, well, the brake light switch. Brake light switch is out. I'm going to keep that aside. I'm going to take my handy dandy needle nose pliers, remove this spring. Like I said, because we're working with springs, I definitely suggest you wear some type of safety glasses, because I do not want anybody losing an eye or anything like that. See? Safety glasses. Now I can remove this. Same thing. So now since the spring isn't there, this pedal should just slide right out. Take the bolt out. Put the nut and the bolt back together. Put that aside. Slide the pedal out. Pedal is out. Gives me a chance to clean this up. Put this aside. Now the gas pedal. So the gas pedal itself, by itself, is just this arm and this spring with this hinge right here that has a cotter pin and not a bolt. The second piece here with the spring is for the cruise control. So I am not going to be using cruise control. I removed it years ago. Since I'm pulling the pedal assembly apart now would be a good time for me to get rid of this piece. So just like before, I'm going to take my needle nose, get rid of this spring. This spring I don't need anymore because it is for the cruise control. Just going to leave this over here. So now if you look, this bracket kind of just flops on its own. Don't need this bracket anymore. So I'm going to pop this cotter pin loose. Hopefully I can do it with just these needle nose. Yeah, it's soft enough. Yeah, I'm going to close this up a little bit. I'll get new cotter pins for this when the time comes. I have some in my toolbox, so it shouldn't be that difficult. Pull the cotter pin out. Little muscle. Cotter pin is out. Washer is out. Now I can slide this bracket off. There is also little plastic, I guess, bushings here. So I am not going to be using this anymore, but I will keep it together just in case, by some miracle, I may need it in the future for something. God knows what. But that is it. I'll keep this bracket aside. Don't need this anymore. Hashtag weight reduction. Basura. So the same goes for this. So now you can see the throttle pedal on its own. You don't need that other bracket. That other bracket is solely for the cruise control. So you push here, pulls on your throttle cable. Okay, it's not a motorcycle, but you get the idea. So same thing, we're going to pull this spring out. This one we're going to keep because this is for the actual throttle cable, not the cruise control. I mean for the throttle pedal. So now the same thing goes here. I'm going to remove this cotter pin. I don't know if you can see, so I'm basically just unfolding this fold right here. Let's see if I can get it nice and close. Yep, there you go. So it's lined up nice and straight. Pull the cotter. That was the easiest one I've done. Right, so cotter pins out. I can slide this part of the pedal out. Give it a couple little love taps. And out the pedal is. This one does not have a bushing. Well, it has a bushing, well, two washers, not a bushing, but it's got a washer and a copper crush type washer. So I'm going to keep those aside as well. And here it is. This is your throttle and brake pedal bracket that bolts to your car body with the brake booster. So these two I'm going to take today and sandblast them, and I'll paint them up nice, and then we will pick up from there on the next video. Well, the next part of this video. Before I end this segment though, there is one important thing. I have 3 little baggies. In these baggies, I'm going to label them. Here I'll write gas. And this will hold all the stuff from my gas pedal. The spring, Come on, get in there. All right, the spring, the 2 washers, and the cotter pin. Cotter pin I'm keeping just so I have one for size reference when I get the new ones to use. So this is for my gas pedal. I'm gonna write this one for brake. Gonna take my little baggie, put the brake spring in there. Hopefully it fits, just barely fits. Right? So that brake is gonna stay there. The bolt that was on the brake pedal, I'm gonna put back in the brake pedal. So, bolt goes in, nut goes here. That way I know not to lose those. Well, I won't lose them. I know not to lose them. I just don't want to lose them. So the brake pedal staying there with this. The gas pedal is going to be here with this spring, the 2 washers. I'm also going to keep it with the new spring that I'm going to use. So here, here, and then I'll keep the stuff for my clutch pedal right here by itself. Put the bolt back in it as well so I don't lose the bolt. And that is it. I'm going to put my tools away, load up my truck, and go sandblast these things. Well guys, this is them after the sandblast. I know it looks like I painted them, right? This is the bare metal that, I know, I'm sorry, the shop's loud. But yes, this is the bare metal that they're in. This is it. So I'm just gonna dust these off and I'm gonna spray paint them. I could probably send them to powder coat, but I'm a little impatient, so I'm gonna spray paint them. As long as they're not rusty like they were before, I'm happy. Came out good. So hopefully I don't mess up the spray paint. So I am back in the shop and I've got the parts with me that I sandblasted last night and painted. Allowed them to dry overnight and they came out great. So check it out. Nice flat black. So really happy with this. Can't wait to put the pedals back in. This is the one for the brake and the gas pedal. This is the one for just the clutch. Really, really happy with these. Just like new. And I cleaned up the pedals as well. So you see the RX pedal, nice and clean. Cleaned up here. You're gonna have to put some new grease in it. That's the brake. This is the gas. Like new. Love it when things look like new. Alright, so gonna set up the tripod and then get to putting these things together. Alright, just like yesterday, I'm gonna start with the clutch pedal first. That one was fairly easy. I just need to wipe off that spring. Spring's got some fuzzy dust and some nasty grease on it, so let's clean this up a little bit. Spring is clean. I'm gonna put this spring back in here. Remember, when putting the spring back, there are these 2 plastic bushings that I didn't take out when I painted, so those are gonna need some grease, some lubrication. So I'm going to take a little bit, put it on the tip of the spring here. Just a little bit, not too much. And I'm just going to spread it around this hole in here, just a little bit, just to lube it up. so that way when I put the spring in, it's got some type of lubrication inside. So if you look close, I was able to cover that hole there. Can't really see too well, but you get the idea. Same thing on the other side. Alright, so I'm going to dip this end in some grease. So both ends have a little grease on them. Might have put a little too much there. I'm just going to compress the spring like this, and then I could slide it into those two holes. There it is. It is in. Looks like I need to just finesse this one just a little bit. That's one. Now this one's got to pop in like that one did. There it goes. It's going. The more I move it, the more it goes. Alright, let's put this grease aside. You grab a little needle nose again. Alright, I hope I don't scratch this. I might. That will. There it is. Alright, so you'll know the spring is completely in when a little tip of the spring sticks out. So that's good to go. Now I take the pedal with the bolt. Take the bolt back out of the pedal. I'm going to take just a little bit of grease here. Just a little bit on my finger. I'm going to smudge it on each side of this bushing on the outside. Just a little bit. And then I'll put some on the inside as well, so that bushing has some nice lubrication on it. Alright, so that's got some lube there. And I'm going to do the other side, the same thing. Just a little bit of grease along the outside, and then on the inside of the bushing too. That is that. And a little bit here at the end. This is where that spring rides on, remember? A little bit over here. Alright, let me dry up my fingers, then we can start putting this thing together. Alright, so you always got to remember the orientation. So this is going to go in here. Remember, like I said earlier in the video, when you go to reinstall, you're going to take this slot, put it in here, wrap the spring up, and then kind of squeeze it back in there with the pedal. There it is. Now I can squeeze the pedal in from this side, line up that hole. And the spring popped out again on me. It's going to be a little harder than I thought. Come on, spring, don't do this. Got that through, got the bolt through, and now we can tighten it up. Alright, let me take some grease off my fingers again. Alright, now I can tighten up this bolt. also grip this tight. I'm going to put my brake light switch back in. I mean my clutch switch. Remember, like I said, I only took the nut, I just broke the nut loose, so that way I knew how far in this went before. So I'm just going to get it right before the nut, tighten the nut just ever so slightly, just so I know it's in the right place. This comes up, and now the second switch going in, same thing. When I broke it loose, I broke just the nut loose just a little bit so I can thread the whole switch out. Gonna thread the switch back in now. Just before the nut touches. And now I can tighten this nut right here. That's one snug, and I need a 17 for the other one. That's it. They're both snug, and now my clutch pedal is back in operating order with a nice painted bracket. Doesn't look like poop anymore. Putting this aside, moving on to the gas and brake pedal. So same thing went with the brake pedal. I've got the brake pedal here. I'm going to take this bolt out. Keep those aside. Going to clean these bushings a little bit and then put some new grease on them. Keep everything nice and minty. This is just some regular AutoZone grease, nothing too fancy. Nothing that's going to break the bank. There's nothing specific for this. It's just a little bit of bearing grease. It's probably a little overkill what I'm doing anyway, but I feel more comfortable doing this instead of knowing that I put these parts in there drying with no lubrication. So that side is good. Now on to this side. Alright, let's dry the fingers. Close this back up. Alright, now, if I remember correctly, this one was a little snug too. Yep. I got grease all over the inside. Put the bolt through. Alright, now I can tighten this up. Nice and tight. The pedal still flows nice and freely. I'm going to put my brake light switch back. Let's give this a little wipe down, make it look nice. Alright, and same thing. When I took this off, I just moved the nut. I broke the nut loose just enough so I could still remember how far in this switch went. Alright, let me tighten this up now. And then remember the baggie that I said earlier that I made just for the brake pedal? Had the spring here. So I take that baggie back out. I'm going to wipe this spring down just a little bit, get rid of some of this nasty old grease, so I can put in some new nice grease. So the spring is going to go on to, remove that, these two. First part of the spring is going to hook this hole right here. Right, so it's going to hook in here. Come on. Hooks in there. Then I'm going to hook the other side to either one of these hooks here. I'm probably going to go the one opposite from it. Probably going to have to take a look at the footage to see the way it really was, but that looks like it'll fit easier that way. Just going to take a little dab of grease. See, tiny little dab of grease, put it on the middle of the spring where I know that it's going to rest on, and that hook. put that one in here now, inside the hook that's on the pedal. So that's going to go there. Again, just another little dab of grease on the hook right here. Now I'm going to take this with my pliers and bring it up to hook it on one of these. Let's see how I can do this. So that fits pretty good right there. So I went straight up on the hooks. The one from the pedal to the one right above where the hook is. So that pedal moves nice and freely. See? Spring brings the pedal back up front onto the gas pedal. There is no bushings on this, so I'm just going to grease up this shaft here, and it's going to go back in just like so. Alright, so actually what I'm going to do, put a little coat of grease on the shaft for the gas pedal. Nice thin layer. Then I'm also going to put a little bit on the bracket for the gas pedal itself. Same thing like we did before with the other bushings, how we got some on the inside. So that's what I'm going to do here. Get some on the inside there, and just a little bit on the outside, because the outside of the bracket right here is going to rub on the pedal. So these two are going to go like so. Alright. Try this finger. So if you look, the pedal slides right in. I still have movement. Slides nice and easy. And now, just like before, I go back to my little baggie that says gas. This is all my hardware for the gas pedal. I'm going to clean off some grease from this spring. Clean off some grease from these washer and bushing type thing. Gonna take these, put them back over here. So they're gonna go back on the pedal in this orientation right here. Oops, wrong orientation. So you're gonna have the plastic bushing go first, then the zinc coated washer, and then the copper type crush washer. Alright, that's all there. Now I can put the cotter pin back. I know I said I was going to use a new one, forgive me, because I didn't grab one right now and I don't want to go look for one. But this one's not bad. Pull that down, swing this back over. So you see how I made this U over here? I'm going to clamp it down now. That's one side. And then it's going to do it again on the other side. That is it. The pedal assembly is back together. Now I just got to put the spring in. I did say I was going to use this Carcept spring, right? Let's see if that works. I haven't even tried this or even gave it a look yet. I just know that it's for the throttle pedal. I want to see how I hook this up. So turns out this Carcep spring is just a tad bit longer than the OEM spring. So that's really not going to work too well. There was still a little slack in it. So my choices now are the OEM throttle spring or the OEM cruise control spring. The cruise control spring, as you can see, is also, this is the cruise control spring, it's the OEM throttle spring. Cruise control springs are quite a bit shorter, so you know, if I use this cruise control spring, in theory there should be more tension because it's a shorter spring that I'm stretching further. So I'm going to give that a shot and let's see how this works. I'll see how the tension feels on the pedal. If I like it, I'll keep it. If not, I'll go back to the OEM throttle spring. Let's see what we get. Oh yeah, look at that. That's nice. Put some nice tension on the pedal. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with this spring that was for the cruise control. So I'm gonna put this back in the bag. Don't know what I'll ever use that for. So before I forget, let me put this in here. Who knows, maybe I'm hooking it up wrong. I'll take a look online before I post a video to see if maybe I was putting this in the wrong place, but I don't think so. This is the OEM gas pedal spring, so I'm going to put that back in my little gas baggie over here so I know what that was for. And this is it. Let me set these up so you guys can take a nice look at them, so I can take a good look at them too. That is it. The clutch pedal, the gas brake pedal, and the gas pedal. This assembly is now back together. Nice. Not so shiny because I chose the flat black paint. I like flat black for, you know, my spare parts or the parts that go on the car that aren't really so much seen. It's just simple to me. That's what I like. But I like them. I'm very happy with it. So guys, that's pretty much all this video is going to cover for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the coverage I made of me painting, taking apart, putting back together the clutch, brake, and gas pedal assembly. So, you know, I really wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. You know, subscribe, like, comment. You know, every time one of you guys do that, you know, it gives me a little more drive just to continue going. So I appreciate it big time. It really means a lot. So I'm going to leave you off with a huge thank you and a little sneak peek of where the car is at now. So this is it. I've had those vents there for a little while now, but the cage is new. The cage I got done earlier this year in like April of like 2019. That's the year we're in now if you're watching this video like 5 years later. But yes, the cage is new. I had some guys in Brooklyn. The name of the shop is Soul of the Street. Nice shop in Brooklyn. Local guy. Really cool guy. They did a nice job on the cage for me. You know, it's just a lot of cleanup afterwards. But you know, it's to be expected. So I've got to repaint the inside of the car, and then I'm hoping to be able to close off the season with, you know, maybe a couple shows and maybe a couple HPDE events and a couple autocrosses, you know, just to feel out the car for 2019 and kind of like, I mean, just to feel out the car for 2020, make whatever little test and tune adjustments I need to for this year. So that is what I'm up to now. There is a lot of other material coming. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of stuff I got to put back in the car. But again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to me. I really, really do appreciate it. And until next time, I'll catch you guys. Be well, stay safe, and take care.